My apologies to those who are below the pulpit in the VIP seats. It's sort of like the Shamu splash zone at SeaWorld. Stay dry down there. Good Friday was supposed to be the end. But then three bleary-eyed, grieving women made their way to the tomb to anoint a dead body, but it had gone missing. They encountered a young man in a white robe who told them that Jesus had been raised, whatever that meant. And so they ran away in terror and amazement, and they said nothing to anyone. Happy Easter. Easter morning is different than the planned ending of Jesus' story, for sure. Mark's gospel doesn't end with a requiem or a rainbow. It ends with fearful and terrible consideration of a mystery. It ends in perplexity, that just when we expect the story to conclude with death, we discover that there's something else going on. The resurrection comes as a jump scare, following an ending that nearly everyone thought was resolved. The end. Lights out. Jesus and his disciples had a good run, but it was over. Much to our surprise, a nameless messenger dressed in a white robe appears to say, "But wait, there's more." What more there is, we are left to sort out. The silent ending of Mark's gospel is a blank page on which we are invited to live the unique story of our lives with God's help. Like the women at the tomb, we are likely caught off guard by this news. A visit to a tomb is supposed to be the wrap-up. But it turns out that our understanding of the end and God's understanding of the end are not the same. When we think it's really and truly over, God says, "It ain't over." When we're weary, when we're down and out, when we can't take another step, when we lose hope, when we're bereft, when we feel lost, when we've been convicted, when we've been crucified, we think in our self-reliance, that's the end, that's it. It's over. But God says, this is only the beginning. Our entry into the mystery of Christ's resurrection comes by way of the cross. The cross! There's nothing more final than the cross. But God has other plans. We've heard it all before, of course. It's always darkest before the dawn. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. The seed only blossoms after it endures the darkness of the soil. We know the truth beneath these platitudes. We've said and heard them 1,000 times. But when we're up to our necks in fear and grief and loss, they lose their traction, don't they? We become disconnected from the wisdom passed down in our human family for millennia. Wisdom only fully expressed in the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus the Christ. But the truth visits us again today. Death is not the end. New life follows death. By the power of the resurrection, we become more fully alive on this side of fear, grief, and death than we were before it. And this is confusing and challenging and painful and mysterious and true. After the passion and death of Jesus, the Marys and Salome were completely spent. They were wiped out. And their last consolation was to go and anoint the body of their Lord and brother. An intimate and loving act that would bring some closure to the horror of their experience of Holy Week. They dragged themselves to the tomb. But alas, no Jesus. Their last hope of comfort and solace, even that had been taken away, and it was brutal. They were looking for an end to their suffering, and instead they found in death a beginning and a new vocation that they had not asked for and were not looking for. The ending they longed for was replaced by a beginning they could never have anticipated. And somehow this experience inaugurated a new way of life for all of us who follow in their footsteps. It didn't come easy for them, and it doesn't come easy for us. When death itself is transformed by hope, we can expect a degree of terror and amazement, for then we have entered upon the mystery. That new life follows not life, but death. The resurrection is not the promise of more of what was. It is the end of what was and the beginning of what will be. New life in Christ is not a bonus, it's not extra life, it's not an addendum, it's not a prize. New life in Christ is something categorically different. The death of what was and the birth of what is to come. And if that sounds scary, it's because it damn well is. But if you desire a new beginning, a fresh start, a clean slate, a way out of no way, then you've come to the right place. Today and for 50 days, along with the 3 women on that first Easter and countless companions across the generations, we celebrate one of the central mysteries of the Christian faith. That by grace, when we come face to face with death, a completely new horizon opens before us. In baptism, we have already been buried with Christ in death. Today, we share in his resurrection. This is a new day, a blank page on which to write our story with God's help. You and me and all of us together, we are the hope of the world. We are to become the good news. Good news in a story that is not ending, a story that is just beginning. That all things are possible through Christ who lives in us. And it doesn't get any more terrifying than that.